We know the Wild are picking at either 21 or 22, depending on how the Seattle Kraken finish out here. But so just talking early 20s, like I know one guy you brought up as an option for the Wild at that spot, Nate Danielson. What do we think about him and how could he fit?
I'll be very curious to see where a guy like Nate Danielson goes in this draft. He is the one thing that makes me think he's going to go the way higher than probably I don't like saying this, but higher than he should, or higher than I would say any public scout would tell you, is the fact that Pronman just released his rankings and he had him at 6th overall, which is, I mean, no, like you can't do that. But he's a good player, man, and like really fun to watch. And I think especially in the offensive zone, he's very fun. Tons of skill. He's got a real good shot, decent enough skater, and he plays a game that's really predicated around offense. But like, there's enough foundation there where I think he can be coached in a very good two-way center at the NHL level. And again, it doesn't hurt that he's like 6'1". So if you're looking at Minnesota targeting centers with some size and with some like pretty high ceiling in terms of offense, and I think that at the NHL level, he's a center. Like, I don't think he's a winger. So Nate Danielson would probably be a pretty good piece to add to this prospect pool. He's a really fun player to watch. Had a real nice year at Brandon. He went on one streak of like a 20 game point streak or whatever. And I mean, like playing, like he did take over some games. It's a pretty quiet but very effective, obviously, and he's capable of producing big numbers. But it's somewhat quiet where he doesn't like he'll make the odd play that does like dazzle you, whatever. But I think he's a very smart player. And again, I just like the foundation of tools that he has there and the skill set. And the fact that he's a center with size with like decent high upside in terms of like offensive ceiling. And guy that definitely I think can develop into an effective two-way player. I think that would be a really good guy to add into this prospect pool for sure. If they want to go the center route. Another guy that's slipping that I think probably looking at his game, especially this year, that he's most likely a winger at the NHL level, but he's definitely capable of being a guy that if he can kind of put this year behind him, a guy like Brayden Yager, who entered this year and everyone's like, he was the guy challenging for that 5th, 6th spot. Just had an off year, but I mean, as an underager, the WHL, he set a new record for Moose Jaw for goals. By the way, the guy that he beat was Theo Fleury, nut job, but very good at hockey. He scored 30 fucking goals in the WHL as an underager. Like, that's unbelievable. And definitely an off year this year, like right around a point per game, a little less. But I think everyone was expecting like a blowout, like big time year right behind Bedard in points. Maybe not right behind him because no one was right behind him. But that's a guy. He's like 6 foot. He's plays a fucking hard game. Like he can be physical, but I think he just plays too much on the perimeter. He's probably a winger at the NHL level, but like there's legit ceiling there. He could be a 30-30 guy for sure if everything goes right for him. There's another guy there. And you know who I'm very curious about? It would be a risk. I probably at this point, he'll probably go in the first round just because he's fucking big and mean and he's a center. But I am very curious now with the Wisconsin coaching change, this recruiting class that's coming in, what that'll do for a guy like Charlie Stramel. Like, I don't necessarily see a ton of offensive upside at the NHL level, but I think he's a very safe pick. Unless you take him high. So like, I mean, at this point, if like, whatever, maybe 25 and beyond, I think, and I'm not saying that the Wild should do this, but I'm just like with this coaching change at Wisconsin, I'm curious to see what happens with a lot of those guys specifically. Like, I'll be curious to see what he looks like next season.
I don't think he'll be in Wisconsin, man. Like, he's not nearly old enough for Mike Hastings.
Good point. It's true. And they're poaching everybody apparently, and everyone's upset about it.
Yes, people are getting quite upset about it.
But they've got fucking William Whitelaw, who's a stud. Shattuck kid, tiny, but really fun. Like one of the funnest players to watch. He doesn't give a lick about defense at all. Does not care. But his mixtape is a whole lot of fun. We'll see how he's another one that's gonna be fascinating. He's super undersized. but he does play hard. He's physical, and his skill is insane. His shot is a joke. Like, he's a very, very fun player to watch. He lit it up at the Pellikka last summer. I'll be curious to see what NHL teams think of him, but those would be two guys I would look at, though. Danielson, Yager would be it's a bit risky.
So he's not a center, though, to you. Yager's not a center.
No, I think a lot of people have probably he's on the periphery too much and relies so much on that shot. And there's like the occasional playmaking, but this year specifically, there weren't a whole lot of games where he's driving the offense necessarily. But I mean, he's an absolute weapon. He's got one of the best shots in the fucking draft, like a freak. But I think a lot of people have landed on he's looking like a sniper at the NHL, like a winger, which doesn't hurt to have. Everyone would love to have that guy. But yeah,
the Wild will draft him and fans will lose it. Like, oh, another winger, great. It's like, shut the fuck up.
I know, right? By the way, the guy that we profiled last week, he is firmly in a good amount of people's first round. Prodman put him at fucking 15. Tom Willander. He had an unbelievable fucking U18s. Like,
I think that was 2 weeks ago.
Was that 2 weeks ago? Or was that last week?
That's the problem when we've got our, back to back to back. Hang on, I got notes. Let's find out.
Either way, if you want a right shot D-man.
Last week was Rick, if you recall. Rick Dvorsky.
Yeah, Dvorsky, yeah.
I'm pretty sure the week before.
That must have been Willander.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Rick Dvorsky. Let's go.
I'll tell you what, man. I think Willander's going to go. You know what? Actually, I tweeted this the other day. It might have been yesterday. I don't know anymore. I think there's a pretty good chance they do take him with that pick late in the first round. Detroit. First of all, they love their Swedish defensemen. They specifically love Swedish defensemen from either Willander or Rogla. But they need a right shot D-man. He's got some upside. Like the second half of the season, Willander's shown some like real upside offensively, but he's definitely a safe fucking right shot D. I think he's a firm number 4. If he's right behind Seider, and then you have a second pair of both from Rogla, Willander and Willander in Detroit, that would be fucking so funny. And I mean, it's like realistic. So,
all right. So you're calling that. Do you see a world where Willander gets taken before all name team leader, in my opinion, Axel, Sandin, Pellikka?
Yes, only because I don't think that would be the right way to go. But Pellikka, like, it's a bet on, first of all, the offense, because like Sandin Pellikka, like, I mean, it is unbelievable to watch this kid play. Like, he was like a goal per game in the J20 this year as a defenseman. The upside for him, I mean, it's not even close for him versus Willander. It's just like how much of that A is going to translate, and B, like, what coach is going to be okay, like, with some of the shit he's doing. That being said, U18's Sandin Pellikka, like, made a ton of defensive plays too. Like, he was excellent. He actually ended up getting defenseman of the tournament, but I thought it should have been Willander.
So you're saying that the Wild should
Willander's got the size.
The Wild should not, under any circumstance, draft Sandin Pellikka because he's a specialist.
He will get traded in a couple years, obviously.
Nice.
But I do think there's a world. Again, he's just as mobile. Like, they're both, like, Willander's one of the best skaters in this draft, especially as a defenseman. The 4-way mobility is outrageous. He's got the foundation of tools. There's some offensive upside for sure. And defensively, he's a stud. Like, so again, you want to talk about safe. He's got size. He's capable of playing physical. And then, like, when he's actually, again, we said this when we profiled him, when he's like testing the tools that he has, he's a stud. So yeah, I could see an NHL team like, yeah, I'll take the big guy that's for sure going to be in the NHL as like a firm number 4.
That's fair. Okay.